But believe it or not, we're going to start with golf. And you heard Nick Cope say on the update that Phil Mickelson is alleged to, by a gambler who wrote a book, a professional gambler. He says, Rob, that Mickelson spent or gambled $1 billion.
Is that what a B, Chris?
A B. $1 billion with a B over the course of his 30-year career. What are your thoughts on this?
We will see more Phil Mickelsons. It's just
let me throw this out quickly because that sounds like a hot take. It's interesting quickly, Rob, that Mickelson, at least if I heard the update correctly, he was accused of trying to bet on the Ryder Cup,
which he was playing in.
Right. And then somebody was like, we're not trying to make you Pete Rose.
Yeah.
And kept him from doing it.
That was the bookie who refused to take the bet. Right.
So Mickelson comes out, at least according to the update, and says, I never bet on the Ryder Cup.
Well, right.
Well, of course you didn't. Because he didn't let you.
Right. I mean, like he didn't say I didn't gamble $1 billion away, Chris. Right. Or I never gambled.
Or I didn't try to bet on the Ryder Cup.
Right.
Right. And that's the key. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Chris, I'm not surprised. We remember Michael Jordan in the playoffs going to Atlantic City during the playoffs against the Knicks, and dude, this is only going to be, there'll be more Phil Mickelsons as we go forward. And Chris, as the money gets bigger and bigger, guys have to have something to do with the money. How many cars can you buy? How many houses can you buy? You remember Charles Barkley, the casino came after him with money, right? Gambling, Chris. This is not isolated at all.
No.
And the more that it becomes a national thing, I live in L.A. The reason I don't bet is that I got to call my buddy in Detroit to place a bet, Chris. You can't bet in California. That's what stops me from betting every night. You see what I'm saying? But eventually,
you got that much money like Mickelson and Jordan?
I don't have that
you got to put it somewhere?
I don't have to. But Chris, you want some.
You're hooked.
You want some skin in the game. That's what you want. Every time, anybody who's ever gone to a game with me, you know what I get all the time? What do I get? Rob G, jump in. What action do I get at a ball game every game I go to? I can't help it. The first thing I do. He's not listening.
I don't know. What?
The 50-50, Chris.
That's what you do?
Yeah. The 50, because I want to. Do you see what I'm saying? Like there's 30,000 people.
$1 billion?
No, I'm not saying that people are going to gamble $1 billion.
No, I mean, but Mickelson.
No, I know.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm just saying, Chris. People have a lot of money. You got to spend it. You can't buy 3,000 pairs of Jordans. Do you know what I'm saying? And you winning $500 raffle at the high school bakery isn't going to do it for you. So all of a sudden you're playing in these sports, you know information that other people don't know, and you feel like I'm going to go, or you go to the table. I once was in Las Vegas with a former major league player, and Chris, he put down $100 bills like they were napkins. I'm just sitting there going, what? Like napkins?
No, I believe
$100 bills, and I'm just going, wow.
Are you? I think Mickelson, if this is true, $1 billion. People can do what they want with their money, but I find it sad. $1 billion. Rob, I am of the firm belief that when you make that kind of money, you're right. I mean, you run out of material things.
How many houses can you buy? How many suits can you buy?
There's nothing else you can get. But that's when I think the next step is not to say, let me gamble for the thrill of it. I'm not saying, I just think moderation in all things. And I'm saying when you have that kind of money, to me, your next step is how can I use this money to impact the world? We see all the problems going on in the world. And I'm not saying you have to just spend all your money to try to make the problems go away, but you can influence people. You can work with other people that are that wealthy to try to address some of the issues that are going on.
Chris, that's totally logical and makes sense, but most
because
people
that's what the ultra rich, Rob. You know, that's what the ultra rich do. I'm not trying to get into a Black Lives Matter discussion, but George Soros was funding them. You know, like putting that your money in, like you want to impact the world because, like you said, you got the money. It's just beyond comprehension.
You're making millions every night when you go to sleep. You're not even doing it because you have so much money in the bank. You're printing money every day. And if you're with some other, you know, like you got endorsement money, you got this.
Oh no,
it's just money piled on top of money.
You can't even count the money you have, and I hear you. So I think that's what should be done. I thought, Rob, you were saying, I thought you were, maybe you were leaning this way, but the fact that gambling is becoming so commonplace now, and the leagues are in bed with the gambling companies and all that may make it more, commonplace for players to bet.
It is going to be. I'm saying that Chris, like guys, they want some action, right? And the money we're talking about Jaylen Brown going to make $69 million in a single season. Right. And he's not even going to be the highest paid. Somebody's going to jump over him. Somebody will be making $75 million a season, Chris. And with the gambling and the relaxed thing, and once all the states and it becomes national, you know what I mean, where you don't have to think about it. And who knows? Maybe the NFL eventually just relaxes it and says, you know what? This is too much for us to be worried about, and whether you made the bet at the facility or you did it down the block or in your car around the corner, that eventually it's just going to be a free for all, and guys are going to want to get into the action because of the money they have. What do they call it? Disposable income, Chris. Disposable income, because
when you look at the wealth imbalance, I think it's a shame. And I like the fact that Jaylen Brown, Rob, what did he say? He said, look, I want to start a Black Wall Street in Boston. Black Wall Street, of course, was the wealthy black community full of businesses, thriving businesses in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was destroyed by racists in the early 20th century. And so, and there were about almost more than 24 of those towns like that, Rob, black towns that were doing well economically that were destroyed in I think they were calling it the Red Summer.
Can I say this? It's funny because they actually did a feature on me, Chris, and it's the Black Wall Street Times that they just did a story about me, about the NABJ and MLB Bro, but they just the name of the paper is the Black Wall Street Times. So check it out if you go to their website. There's a story that just came out today about me. So.
Yeah, and so congratulations on that. Yep. But I look, again, people can do what they want with their money.
Do you think this is going to be an issue or no? Like just with the amount of money available, Chris, and just how relaxed. Before, people were afraid to death to even talk about gambling. We're not in that world anymore.
No, I don't think it's about the amount of money the guys make. But I just think, to your point, man, it's just like the lines are being blurred. And, I mean, I think some people may just flout the rules and say, you know what, I'm going to bet on my sport, or I think I can do it without getting caught or whatever. And other people, Rob, may just do it somewhat unknowingly. You know what I mean? Like they for whatever reason, they missed the memo. They were sleeping during the meeting when the Players Association or whoever went to tell them, what they can and can't gamble on. They just weren't paying attention, daydreaming, whatever. But I do think, Rob, you make a good point in that it's becoming so mainstream.
Right. It's not a taboo, right? It's like nobody even flinches.
Will. Yeah, and it's, you just hope, and this is why, of course, the leagues haven't been in bed with betting earlier, because they were concerned that guys might, be tempted, or guys might start betting.
Because don't forget, we used to have scandals with that point shaving with college basketball games.
Yep.
And it
that's
wasn't.
the thing.
And what people don't understand is they didn't want the stars to score no points. All they need you to do is miss 4 free throws, Chris. That's all. That's you know what I mean. That's
miss
how
a jumper here or there.
That's it.
It's an off night. I mean, you can do that
easily. And especially if you go to the line where the spread is the important thing, Chris. Coming down to it, you miss 4 free throws at the end. It makes a big difference on who wins and who loses.
Yep. No doubt. And so look, I'm not saying that is going to become a commonplace, or hopefully dudes don't even do that, Rob, like betting on their own sports. Just be smart. But yeah, I do think it becoming mainstream is going to affect guys.
Yeah,
and they may not even think they're doing anything wrong at a certain point.
Well, look how many guys have already been busted.
Yep.
And we haven't even really gotten into, again, it's not national. And, I mean, they let go in Detroit, Chris, the Lions front office. Didn't 4 or 5 people in the front office got fired.
Yep. The league, Rob, I think, whether it's in conjunction with the Players Association, they need to go above and beyond when it comes to making sure the players are aware that there's no betting. You know what I mean? On your sport. And you've talked often about, you see signs in the baseball clubhouses, no betting. They need to put those in all the locker rooms.
Yep, because Chris, you covered baseball, when you walked in there, you couldn't miss it. It was that big.
And that's how it has to be, because dudes will get comfortable with it. And again, I think some might do it absentmindedly, not thinking about it, because it's going to be so prevalent. So they have to really take extra precautions to make sure that doesn't happen. All right.